wood pigeon in the distance, and coming into the studio. And today I thought I would use my Japanese brush pen. And I love this pen because, as you see, it's I've got a sort of brush-like tip, so it does feel like drawing with a paintbrush, which is what I think many artists must do in Japan. And there's a lovely tradition of brush making, and the Chinese and Japanese tradition of drawing with a paintbrush. Wonderful smoky watercolours, and they have a tradition in China where a musician and a poet and a visual artist, sometimes a calligrapher, sometimes a landscape painter, will get together, and the poet will read his poetry and the musician will play his instrument and the artist will create a painting, all at the same time while an audience watches. And I think that's such a lovely idea of creating art in real time, almost as a performance. I suppose it's what I've been doing with these little videos on Patreon, just creating small pieces of art in real time. I just had a long phone conversation, very enjoyable phone conversation, just talking, catching up. And while I was on the phone, I had a biro to hand and a little memo pad. And as I chatted, I just doodled, just did little doodles. Not thinking about what I was drawing because I was talking. Funny enough, about things like mindfulness and various sort of psychological thoughts and ideas. And at the end of it, it's quite a long phone call. I think I've done about sort of four doodles. Without really thinking about it, they just appeared. I don't know whether they, and that's the thing about sort of doodles, just drawing with no thought. It's sometimes you can look at them afterwards and think, oh, I wonder what that says about my general state of mind. Probably nothing terribly interesting, but if you're interested, I'll just show you the doodles I was doing. And here they are. Yes, goodness knows what they mean. But that's part of the fun, I think, of drawing. And actually this is also one of the great pleasures, is the thick, definitive line that you can get from a brush that's also sort of soft as well. There's no sort of resistance on the paper surface from a paintbrush. And I think that means you draw in a slightly different way to a pen nib or a pencil, where you actually hear it scraping on the paper. There's a sense of tension, whereas with a paintbrush, there is no. If you press down hard on a paintbrush, you just get a thicker line, and when you just draw back a little bit, you get a nice feathery line like that. So I think that's the difference with just changing the material you're using from time to time. It just allows you maybe to do the same drawing but in a slightly different way. And I think that always interests me when I sort of decide on a project. This week I'm going to be talking about my latest book on my drawing board, a little sort of series I'm going to post on my Patreon page. I'm going to be talking about Arthur, the Always King, which is a project that I finished this year and is now in bookshops, and I just thought I would turn the pages and read some extracts from it and just talk about the process that of producing the artwork to what is, I would say, a really, really beautifully written book. The prose by Kevin Crossley Holland is just wonderful. So I'd like you to hear some of that as I turn the pages. And I also have a sketchbook that I'm going to be showing. And it's a very special sketchbook. It is my workbook for my political cartoons at The Observer. And I've just completed, I keep a sketchbook where I draw out my ideas each week for my weekly political cartoon. And I'm just going to go through that, page turning, and seeing what a week, each say a week, what a year in politics looks like visually. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's going to be fun. Again, if you're interested in that, you can find it on my Patreon page, which I'm really, really enjoying. It's been 1 week, and I've rather fallen in love with the feel of producing little daily drawings like this. And I'm going to find a way to see whether I can offer these drawings, put them up on a big cartel site maybe, so that anyone on Patreon gets a chance to maybe buy one of the drawings first before anyone else. So let's see whether I can make that work. I'm sure I'm talking to people who know how to do this sort of thing. I'm completely incompetent and I don't know how to do anything, so I do have help. Katie and Harry help me with this page, and as a young artist and a young musician, all the proceeds from your generous patron pledges go to Katie and Harry, and my reward is just to enjoy making these drawings, which I think is reward enough. It's really enjoyable. So yes, here is something I like drawing a lot, which is why on the page you'll notice that each tier has a little sort of drawing thumbnail, and they are floating rocks, because I draw floating rocks often as a pleasurable thing to do. When, sometimes you can sort of sit down and wonder what to draw, and you can just embark on something and see where it goes, and other times you can sit down and go, well, I know, I'll just draw another one of those things I like to draw, and what I like to draw are floating rocks. There's something sort of tranquil and pleasing about about floating rocks, and I do apologise for those of you who are watching for the great shadow across this page. I'm not an expert cameraman, and my sort of skills at lighting aren't great, but I don't know, I quite like the sort of homemade nature of making these little videos. They're by no means professional, but they're not meant to be. And I've been toying with the idea of sort of how much do I talk and how little do I talk, and in some ways that's why I wanted to work with Harry, because Harry plays music, just makes it up, improvises these lovely passages of music, and I thought it would be really nice to just do some videos of Harry playing music while I sort of draw, and that way you don't have to listen to me banging on about stuff. You can just watch the drawing appear whilst listening to Harry make some great sounds with his guitar and his keyboards and whatever Harry feels like playing and improvising on. So that's going to be fun. We're going to do that once a month. And we're going to try and do that, I think, as a live stream so that you can watch it in real time, like an actual performance, which will be fun and, you know, captured forever, I hope, sort of on the Patreon page. And now I feel the need for, I'm reaching into my pencil case, I feel the need for a bit of cloud detail. And the next thing I'll be posting will be a conversation that Katie and I have just had, one of our studio conversations, and it was really, really enjoyable to do, just chatting and drawing on the same sheet of paper. There were a few unexpected moments and a couple of breakthroughs, and certainly some insights from Katie, at least, into her working methods. And I really, really enjoyed it. So I hope it'll be the start of a series of conversations Katie and I will be having each week while we draw on large bits of paper. And I think it might be nice to organise, I don't know, some sort of, maybe we could do a little raffle or something, and each week we could send someone the drawing we were doing. We wouldn't want to sell them just because they are just so sort of, they're just work in progress, as it were. They're not actual pieces as such. But it would be fun if any of you who are pledging would like a piece of doodling on a large piece of paper, signed by Katie and me. We will organise a way to make that happen each week. And this is what I'm enjoying about the experience of Patreon. It is that there are no rules. You sort of make it up as you go along. You figure it out. You figure out what to do and how to do it. And it's a really nice sort of creative medium. And then you get the absolute thrill and affirmation of people sending you £1 or £5 a month because they want to see what you're going to do next, and that's a lovely sense of affirmation for an artist. And when I draw a cloud house, I always like to do this. I don't know whether those of you who've seen these drawings before have noticed, but when I sign, I like to sign just half obscured behind a wisp of cloud. Apologies again for the shadow.